Parece un buen lugar para desechar evidencia. ¿Hay alguna aplicación para besar mi trasero metálico?
¡Uy, varias!
Uy.
Hello! If you previously struggled to correctly use por and para, or even if you guessed them right without truly understanding why, well, you need this video. According to the complete Spanish grammar book, for is the basic English equivalent of both para and por. But sometimes this isn't accurate. In reality, por is used when you use for in English and a bunch of other things, and para is used for a bunch of things and also for. And here comes the biggest realization no one has ever told you. Por and para do not mean for. Yeah, I know, it is not what you wanted to hear, and it's hard to grasp this. You spend all those hours trying to match all those por and para uses to for in vain. But it is better for you to conceive these two words like this. Por has 17 uses in Spanish, while para has 26 uses. It just so happens that for in English can be fitted into a couple of these, but not all. Now, there are two main approaches to distinguishing between por and para. You can either learn all the individual uses, remember 17 for por and 26 for para, or you can take a shortcut. This shortcut covers the most common uses and will grant you an understanding of the more specific cases as you continue with your Spanish journey. Let's put this into perspective. The first route will give you a complete understanding, but it will take you 3 times as long to learn all the details. Plus, without constantly referring to your notes, your accuracy in using these terms might only be about 50% when speaking to a native. The second approach covers about 40% of the uses of por and para. It will take you no longer than the length of this video to learn them, potentially increasing your accuracy to around 50% when you speak to a native. So here is my promise. I'll guide you through the second approach, and if by the end of this video you grasp the essence of when to use por and para, in more circumstances obviously, then the purpose of this video will have been fulfilled. All I ask in return is your subscription as a thank you for helping you with this topic. Do we have a deal?
¡Cállese y tome mi dinero!
I hope so. First of all, let me ask you something. Forget that por and para mean for. Doing this small thing will make your learning journey more enjoyable and bearable, believe me. Now, let's start with para.
First, we need to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Francine.
The following uses are the ones that you need to consider when translating for from English into Spanish. To understand para, I want you to imagine that para it's an arrow, and an arrow that points towards something, an arrow that leads you to something. The first basic use of para is for indicating a destination or recipient. The concept is that something is moving towards something else. For example, the painting is for my apartment, which translates to La pintura es para mi apartamento. You can imagine para pointing to the apartment of Pierce Brosnan as the destination for the picture. Another example, el bar es el lugar perfecto para una cerveza, meaning the bar is the perfect place for a beer. Visualize the bar as the perfect destination for the beer. Another example illustrating the arrow concept with para is mañana saldré para México a la 1 de la tarde, which means I will leave for Mexico at 1 p.m. Moving on to the recipient idea, it's basically when you do or have something done for someone. A recipient is also a destination, if you think about it. The motorcycle is for my sister translates to la moto es para mi hermana. Or el helado es para mi hijo, which means the ice cream is for my son. In both cases, my sister and the kid are the recipients or destinations of the objects. Purpose is the next case, but let's explore it with a couple of examples. Esta ropa es para hacer ejercicio y esta ropa es para bailar. This translates to these clothes are for exercising and these clothes are for dancing. Now, here's a tiny bit extra of Spanish grammar with no exceptions whatsoever. When you say for plus the ing form of a verb in English, the structure in Spanish will always be para plus the infinitive verb. Let's see some examples. This sofa is for playing video games. Este sofá es para jugar videojuegos. Think of the purpose of something as its destination or aim. Keeping this in mind will help maintain the concept of the destination and the arrow of para. This card is for buying food. Esta tarjeta es para comprar comida. The aim or purpose of the card is to buy food. Para is also used for deadlines. Think of deadlines as the destination of something. El proyecto es para el viernes. The project is due for Friday. Visualizing the deadline as the destination can help you understand the use of para. However, there are some uses in English where for isn't necessary, but para is still used in Spanish. Situation 1, when it means to. Voy para la escuela. I am going to school. You could also say voy a la escuela, but both sentences mean the same thing. Situation 2, purpose. You do something to achieve something else. I work to survive. Trabajo para sobrevivir. I run to be healthy. Corro para estar saludable. Now let's move on to por. For the rest of the video, I want you to think of por as this shape. Yep, it looks like an H, so keep that in mind. Let's look at some examples to help you understand the shape. Duration. When you talk about duration in Spanish, you need por. Visualize it this way. Estaré en México por 3 meses. 3 meses is the duration and the shape is the timeline. See, the timeline is the duration, therefore you need por. Viviré en El Salvador por 2 años, which means I will live in El Salvador for 2 years. The second usage is when you think of por as representing an exchange. So the shape helps us visualize it as a trade. One thing for another. Let's look at some examples where you can buy an item. Compré este iPhone por $1,000. I bought this iPhone for $1,000. You exchange $1,000 for an iPhone. There is an exchange. Yo cambié mi Mac por una computadora Windows, which means I exchanged my Mac for a Windows computer. Mi amigo vendió su carro por un boleto de Metallica. My friend sold his car for a Metallica ticket. Just like para, por also happens to be used in Spanish when for isn't used in English. For example, yo hago ejercicio en la mañana, which means I exercise in the morning. It helps to understand this use of por if you interpret in as during, which then refers to a duration, from the beginning to the end of the morning. Now, when you talk about a non-final destination, meaning you use through in English, in Spanish we use por. Once again, visualizing this helps us understand why por is used. Camino por el parque, I walk through the park. Here el parque is not the destination, but por is used because it is the path you walk through. Finally, if all this still confuses you, then you need to stick to the ultimate and last resource hack. But be warned, thinking of por and para in this way won't guarantee you a full understanding of all their uses. I highly recommend you that you either rewatch this video, you download our Anki deck, or you download our exercises for por and para. Step 1. Just like before, don't think of por and para as for. Instead, think of them in this way. Consider the context. You are traveling to England to study engineering to become a Formula 1 driver. I love Formula 1, that's why. Then somebody asks you, why are you learning engineering? To show the hack works, think of the possible two answers. Your parents are Formula 1 drivers and they want you to become one as well. Or number two, you want to become a Formula 1 driver because you used to play many games when you were a kid. If you want to provide the first answer, you need to say you are studying engineering due to the pressure from your parents. Estudio ingeniería por mis padres. I study engineering due to my parents. If you want to provide the second answer, you need to say you are studying engineering in order to become a Formula 1 driver. Estudio ingeniería para ser piloto de Fórmula 1. I study engineering in order to be a Formula 1 driver. Now, if you think of a third situation, you have always wanted to become a Formula 1 driver, well, in this case you are referring to a motivation from your past, similar to your parents' motivation. So, due to or por would work better here. Estudio ingeniería por mi deseo de ser piloto de Fórmula 1, which means I study engineering due to my desire to be a Formula 1 driver. Alright, let's move on to some exercises. They are going to be divided into 3 sections. 5 questions first, another 5 for the second section, and 10 for the last section. Do your best, answer these questions, write down on the comments the answers if you know them, and I will be giving you the answers after each exercise. Let's see how you do it. Número 1. Estudio el examen de mañana. Número 2. Ella trabajó 8 horas. Número 3. Esa taza de café es ti. Número 4. Gracias, la ayuda. Número 5. El regalo es mi madre. Let's check the answers for this first exercise. Number 1. Estudio para el examen de mañana. Number 2. Ella trabajó por 8 horas. Number 3. Esa taza de café es para ti. Number 4. Gracias por la ayuda. Number 5. El regalo es para mi madre. If you got at least 3 out of these 5 questions, then you're doing great. Let's do 5 more, okay? Remember, first I'm going to read the sentences, answer the sentences, and then we check the answers. Number 1. Voy la calle principal. Number 2. Estoy aquí a aprender español. Number 3. Paso tu casa a las 6. Number 4. Este libro es la clase de historia. Number 5. Pagué $20 la camisa. Once again, 3 correct answers mean you are doing great. Finally, let's do 10 questions and see how many you got correct this time. Remember, keep answering them and then wait for the answers in the next section. Number 1. El juguete es el niño. Number 2. Cambié mi viejo coche uno nuevo. Number 3. Este pastel es la fiesta. Number 4. Voy a la tienda más pan. Number 5. El café es la mañana. Number 6. Voy casa. Number 7. Corrí el parque. Number 8. Estos zapatos son correr. Number 9. Estudia la tarde. Number 10. Estoy esperando el autobús. Let's check the answers. El juguete es para el niño. Number 2. Cambié mi viejo coche por uno nuevo. Number 3. Este pastel es para la fiesta. Number 4. Voy a la tienda por más pan. Number 5. El café es para la mañana. Number 6. Voy para casa. Number 7. Corrí por el parque. Number 8. Estos zapatos son para correr. Number 9. Estudia por la tarde. Number 10. Estoy esperando por el autobús. There you have. If you got at least 5 correct, then you're doing awesome. 7 means that you almost got it, and if you got all correct, then you're a master of por and para. Now, if you think this video helped you, even a tiny little bit, please consider subscribing. That shows me that this video helped you and that you want more videos like this. Thank you for doing it, and see you on the next one. Bye!